Why is it that so many people are faithfully sipping on bone broth every day, believing it will keep their muscles strong, only to find themselves weaker, softer, and less energetic as the years go by? We have been told that collagen-rich bone broth is the ultimate superfood for our joints, skin, and even muscle health. But here's the shocking truth. While bone broth has its place, it is not the food that will actually protect you from the #1 muscle-wasting disease of aging sarcopenia. Now, if you have never heard of sarcopenia, let me explain. Sarcopenia is the medical term for age-related muscle loss. Starting in our 30s and accelerating in our 50s and 60s, we can lose 3 to 5% of our muscle mass every decade. By the time someone reaches their 70s or 80s, if nothing is done, they may have lost up to half of their lean muscle tissue. And here is the danger. Muscle is not just about strength or vanity. Muscle is the organ of longevity. It is the very fabric that keeps your metabolism high, your blood sugar stable, your bones strong, and even your brain protected. When muscle disappears, everything else begins to unravel. Falls, frailty, insulin resistance, fatty liver, even dementia, all of these risks climb sharply when muscle mass declines. So, if you want to extend your health span, if you want to burn fat more efficiently, if you want to keep your hormones and your energy vibrant as you age, muscle health is non-negotiable. And here is where bone broth fails us. Collagen protein found in bone broth is wonderful for your skin and connective tissue. But collagen is missing one critical ingredient. It is almost completely devoid of the amino acid leucine. And leucine is the single most powerful nutrient signal that flips the switch in your body to grow and preserve skeletal muscle. Without leucine, you cannot trigger muscle protein synthesis. Imagine trying to start your car without the ignition key. That is collagen for your muscles. You can drink all the bone broth in the world, but if leucine is missing, you are not building or preserving muscle. So what is the real food that builds muscle and kills sarcopenia? What should you be prioritizing if you want to age strong instead of frail? That is what we are going to uncover in this masterclass. Over the next 30 minutes, I will walk you through the science of muscle preservation, reveal the overlooked foods that actually switch on muscle-building pathways, and show you how to integrate them into your daily life in a way that is natural, sustainable, and deeply effective. Here is what you are about to learn. Number 1. The surprising nutrient signal your muscles are starving for, and why most diets miss it completely. Number 2. The real reason your protein powder or collagen supplement might be leaving you weaker instead of stronger. Number 3. The exact foods that research shows can reverse sarcopenia and extend your metabolic health span. Number 4. How timing your meals, not just what you eat, can amplify muscle growth even in your 60s or 70s. Number 5. The role of fasting, mitochondria, and hormones in protecting your muscle mass. And number 6. A practical blueprint of food, habits, and lifestyle strategies to make muscle health automatic in your daily life. If you are serious about burning fat, keeping your metabolism young, and avoiding the trap of frailty that takes down so many people in their later years, this will be one of the most important lessons you ever learn. Here is what is really going on inside your body when it comes to muscle growth. Muscle is not built simply because you eat protein. Muscle is built when you activate a specific biological pathway inside your cells called mTOR mechanistic target of rapamycin. Think of mTOR as the master switch for growth and repair. When it is turned on, your body takes dietary amino acids and actually incorporates them into new muscle tissue. When it is off, no matter how much protein you eat, you will not add or preserve muscle. And what flips this switch on? The amino acid leucine. Leucine is an essential amino acid, meaning your body cannot make it on its own. You must get it from food. But here is the crucial part. Leucine is not just a building block of muscle, it is the signal. It is like the ignition key in your car. Without it, the engine does not start. This is why bone broth, despite being rich in collagen, falls flat. Collagen is extremely low in leucine. It is like pouring gallons of gasoline into your car without having the key to turn the engine. The fuel is there, but nothing happens. Your muscles remain in a breakdown state. Let me give you a simple analogy. Imagine your muscles are like a construction site. You have bricks, cement, and steel beams delivered every day that is your protein. But unless the foreman shows up to direct the workers, no building takes place. Leucine is that foreman. It tells your muscle machinery, start building now. Without leucine, all those bricks just sit there unused. Now, research shows that you need a minimum threshold of leucine in a single meal to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Studies suggest that for most adults, it takes around 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in one sitting to activate this muscle-building switch. To put that in context, that might be the leucine content of about 4 to 5 ounces of high-quality animal protein, like beef, chicken, or fish. Or it could come from whey protein isolate, which is naturally rich in leucine. And here is the part that becomes even more important as we age. The older we get, the more resistant our muscles become to leucine's signal. This is called anabolic resistance. A 20-year-old can activate mTOR with a modest dose of leucine. But by the time you are in your 60s or 70s, your body needs a higher dose to get the same effect. This is why protein needs actually increase with age, not decrease, despite the common advice that older adults can get by with less. That advice is dangerous, and it is one of the reasons sarcopenia is so widespread. So, what is the takeaway here? If you want to protect your muscle and stop sarcopenia, you must hit that leucine threshold in your meals. It is not about sipping bone broth all day. It is about ensuring that each meal contains enough high-quality protein with adequate leucine to flip the muscle-building switch. If this is making sense so far and you are finding it helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. I post content like this every day to help you optimize your metabolism, energy, and longevity naturally. In the next section, we are going to look at the protein trap, why most people think they are getting enough, but in reality, they are underdosing the very amino acids their muscles desperately need. Most people believe they are already eating enough protein. They have their morning eggs, a sandwich at lunch, maybe some chicken or lentils at dinner. On paper, it looks fine. But here's the trap. The problem is not just how much protein you eat in total. The real problem is the quality of that protein and how it is distributed throughout the day. Here is what is really going on inside your body. Not all proteins are created equal. Proteins are made of amino acids, and different foods carry different amino acid profiles. Some are complete, meaning they provide all the essential amino acids in the right proportions. Others are incomplete, missing key amino acids like leucine. When you eat an incomplete protein, your body gets plenty of calories but not the precise building blocks or signals required for muscle preservation. Think of it this way. Imagine you are baking bread and you have flour, water, and salt, but you forgot the yeast. You can mix everything together, but it will never rise. That is what happens when your meals lack the amino acid balance your muscles need. You can eat large amounts of calories, but muscle building simply does not happen. This is why so many people fall into the protein trap. They may technically be consuming 70 to 80 grams of protein per day, but if that protein is spread out in tiny doses or coming from incomplete sources, it never reaches the leucine threshold needed to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. The research is clear. What matters most is the per-meal dose of high-quality protein, not just the total amount across the day. For example, studies have shown that 30 grams of high-quality protein at one sitting stimulates muscle protein synthesis far more effectively than spreading 10 grams of protein across 3 small snacks. Why? Because only the first scenario hits that leucine ignition point we discussed earlier. And here's another hidden danger. Many plant-based proteins, while healthy in other respects, are lower in leucine compared to animal proteins. Soy, beans, lentils, and grains do provide protein, but the leucine density is much lower. That does not mean plant-based eaters cannot protect their muscle. It simply means they must be more intentional. Combining different plant proteins, or supplementing with leucine-rich powders, can make up the gap. A fascinating study published recently looked at older adults consuming either lower doses of protein across many meals or higher doses in fewer, more protein-focused meals. The group that consolidated their protein intake into solid, leucine-rich meals had significantly better muscle preservation, even without changing their exercise. This shows us that meal design matters just as much as total intake. So the trap is this. You might think you are covered because you eat some protein at every meal, but unless you are hitting that leucine threshold with high-quality sources, you are slowly drifting toward sarcopenia. The solution is straightforward. Design your meals so that each one provides at least 25 to 30 grams of complete protein, ideally delivering that 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine. This could mean eggs with smoked salmon in the morning, a chicken and vegetable stir-fry at lunch, or grass-fed beef with greens at dinner. If you are plant-based, it could mean lentils combined with quinoa, and perhaps a pea protein supplement enriched with added leucine. In the next section, we will explore exactly which foods act as medicine for muscle, the foods proven in research to not just preserve lean mass, but actively fight back against sarcopenia. And this is where it gets exciting, because the solutions are delicious, practical, and life-changing. Now that we have uncovered the role of leucine in the protein trap, let us talk about something far more exciting: food as medicine for your muscles. Because this is not about powders, gimmicks, or laboratory supplements. This is about choosing foods that your body recognizes, foods that your ancestors thrived on, and foods that research now proves can literally reverse sarcopenia. Here is what is really going on inside your body when you eat the right foods. High-quality protein sources not only provide leucine, they also carry a full spectrum of essential amino acids, plus micronutrients that amplify muscle health like creatine, carnitine, vitamin B12, iron, zinc, and omega-3 fatty acids. These are cofactors that your mitochondria, your energy factories, need in order to make muscle tissue resilient and metabolically active. Let me give you a few examples. Eggs. Eggs are nature's perfect protein. They contain all the essential amino acids in the right proportions, with about 9% of their protein as leucine. Add to that choline, which supports brain health, and fat-soluble vitamins that enhance hormone balance. Research has shown that whole eggs stimulate muscle protein synthesis more effectively than egg whites alone. Why? Because the yolk provides critical cofactors that unlock the anabolic effect of the protein. Fish, particularly salmon, sardines, and mackerel, are another muscle-preserving powerhouse. They are rich in leucine, but they also provide omega-3 fatty acids. Studies on older adults show that omega-3s actually make your muscles more sensitive to leucine, reducing anabolic resistance. In other words, they lower the amount of leucine needed to flip on the muscle-building switch. This is why cultures with high fish intake tend to age with more muscle and less frailty. Grass-fed beef is another food as medicine example. Beyond its leucine density, beef provides creatine, a compound that directly fuels your muscles during short bursts of activity. Creatine also supports brain health and mitochondrial resilience. Older adults who consume creatine-rich foods show better muscle preservation, even without intense exercise. And let us not forget fermented dairy, like Greek yogurt or kefir. These foods pack casein and whey, both rich in leucine, and the fermentation process enhances digestion and probiotic support for gut health. Why does this matter? Because a healthy gut improves protein absorption, ensuring that what you eat actually reaches your muscles. Now, if you are plant-based, do not worry. Lentils, quinoa, buckwheat, soy, and pea protein isolates can absolutely play the same role, but the strategy is a little different. You need to combine these foods to create a complete amino acid profile, and, ideally, supplement with extra leucine or a plant-based protein powder fortified with it. The principle remains the same. Hit the leucine threshold, meal by meal. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that older adults who ate higher protein diets, particularly diets rich in leucine-dense foods like dairy, fish, and eggs, had up to 40% lower risk of sarcopenia. That is not a small effect. That is the difference between staying independent and vibrant in your 70s versus struggling to climb a flight of stairs. So when we say food is medicine for muscle, this is what we mean. Eggs are not just breakfast. They are a prescription for resilience. Fish is not just dinner. It is an anti-aging therapy. Beef, yogurt, lentils. These are not simply groceries. They are tools to reprogram your metabolism, protect your mitochondria, and keep you lean and strong. If you are finding this valuable, remember to subscribe and share this with someone you care about, because sarcopenia is silent. People do not feel it until it is advanced, but by then, reversing it is much harder. In the next section, we will talk about something most people overlook: meal timing. Because when you eat protein is just as important as how much you eat. Get this wrong, and even the best foods will not deliver their full effect. So far, we have talked about leucine, the protein trap, and the right foods. But here is the next layer of truth. It is not just what you eat. It is when you eat it that determines how much of it your muscles actually use. Here is what is really going on inside your body. Muscle protein synthesis is not a continuous process. It happens in spikes. You eat a meal rich in protein and leucine, the signal is sent, the muscle-building machinery flips on, and then after a few hours, it shuts off. This is called the anabolic response. To build or preserve muscle, you need to create these spikes throughout the day. Imagine your muscles as a light bulb. You cannot keep it glowing with a weak, constant trickle of electricity. You need a solid current that turns it on fully. Small snacks with 10 grams of protein here, 8 grams there. That is just a flicker. The bulb never really lights. But when you consume a meal with 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein, you get a surge that turns the light fully on, stimulating muscle growth. This is where timing becomes critical. Many people make the mistake of backloading their protein. They eat a carbohydrate-heavy breakfast toast, cereal, fruit juice, then a light lunch, and finally pack in their protein at dinner. By then, their body has gone most of the day without hitting the leucine threshold. That is a wasted opportunity, especially for older adults who already struggle with anabolic resistance. Research shows that evenly distributing protein across your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, leads to significantly greater muscle preservation compared to eating most of your protein at one sitting. For example, if you aim for 90 grams of protein per day, you are far better off dividing it into 3 meals of 30 grams each, rather than 10 grams at breakfast, 20 at lunch, and 60 at dinner. And here is another fascinating point. There is a concept called the anabolic window, often associated with post-workout nutrition. The idea is that after resistance training, your muscles are more sensitive to leucine and amino acids. This means if you consume a leucine-rich meal or shake within about 1 to 2 hours after training, you amplify the muscle-building signal dramatically. Even in older adults, this timing effect holds true. So the strategy is simple but powerful. Structure your meals so that you are triggering at least 2 to 3 spikes of muscle protein synthesis each day. Make sure your breakfast and lunch are not protein-light afterthoughts, but real leucine-rich meals. If you exercise, especially resistance training, prioritize a protein dose shortly after to take advantage of the anabolic window. Let me share a practical example. Instead of starting your day with oatmeal and fruit juice, try 3 scrambled eggs with spinach and smoked salmon. That alone could give you 3 grams of leucine and 25 grams of protein, flipping on your muscle-building machinery before you even leave the house. At lunch, swap the sandwich with just bread and cheese for a chicken stir-fry or Greek yogurt with nuts and berries. By dinner, you are already ahead of the curve, not scrambling to catch up on protein. The research is clear. Meal timing, per-meal protein thresholds, and post-exercise fueling are 3 of the most overlooked yet powerful strategies to kill sarcopenia before it starts. In the next section, we are going to zoom out even further. Because muscle preservation is not just about food. It is about how your mitochondria, your insulin sensitivity, and your hormones decide whether muscle tissue thrives or wastes away. Up to now, we have focused on protein, leucine, and timing. But here is the deeper truth. Even if you eat perfectly, your body's ability to preserve muscle depends on the inner machinery of your cells and the balance of your hormones. Here is what is really going on inside your body. Your mitochondria. Those tiny power plants in your cells determine whether your muscle tissue is energized and resilient or sluggish and wasting away. When mitochondria are healthy, they burn fat and glucose efficiently, they create abundant ATP, and they provide the energy needed to support muscle growth and repair. But when mitochondria are damaged often by high sugar diets, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation, they produce less energy and more oxidative stress. This weakens your muscle fibers, accelerates aging, and feeds sarcopenia. Insulin is another key player. Most people think of insulin as just a blood sugar hormone, but it is also anabolic, meaning it helps drive nutrients into muscle cells. When your body is insulin sensitive, protein and amino acids are efficiently delivered to muscle tissue, where they can be used to build strength. But when you are insulin resistant, as in prediabetes, diabetes, or metabolic syndrome, that pathway gets blocked. Protein is wasted, fat storage increases, and your muscles starve despite plenty of food. And then there are hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, and IGF-1. These are not just for athletes, they are critical for everyday muscle preservation. Testosterone supports protein synthesis and prevents breakdown. Growth hormone stimulates repair and recovery, especially during deep sleep. IGF-1 amplifies the anabolic signal from leucine and exercise. As we age, all three of these hormones naturally decline. That does not mean muscle loss is inevitable, but it does mean we need to support these hormones with lifestyle choices. So how do we optimize this inner system? First, fasting and insulin sensitivity. Intermittent fasting, even something as simple as 12 to 16 hours overnight, helps reset insulin, lowers inflammation, and improves mitochondrial function. Studies show that older adults who practice moderate fasting not only improve fat metabolism but also make their muscles more responsive to protein when they do eat. Second, exercise. Resistance training is the single most powerful mitochondrial therapy available. Every time you stress your muscles against weight, you send a signal for the body to build more mitochondria, improve insulin sensitivity, and release growth hormone naturally. This is why people who lift weights into their 70s and 80s often have the metabolic profile of someone decades younger. Third, sleep. Deep sleep is when growth hormone is secreted at its highest levels. Without it, recovery is impaired and muscle breakdown accelerates. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is not just about energy the next day. It is literally about protecting your lean mass for the decades ahead. Fourth, micronutrients and cofactors. Magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids all support hormonal balance, mitochondrial health, and insulin sensitivity. Deficiencies in these nutrients are extremely common, and they directly worsen muscle loss. Correcting them is one of the simplest, most overlooked strategies for killing sarcopenia. So remember, food alone is not enough. Your muscles depend on healthy mitochondria, insulin sensitivity, and hormone balance. If these are broken, even the best diet will fall short. But when they are optimized, the same foods suddenly become far more powerful. Your body responds like it was designed to, building and preserving muscle even into advanced age. If this is resonating with you and adding value, consider subscribing to the channel. I share content like this every day to help you master your metabolism and longevity naturally. Now, in the next section, we will put it all together into a clear, practical blueprint, the exact steps, foods, timing, and habits you can adopt starting today to make muscle preservation automatic in your daily life. We have covered the science, the pitfalls, and the key principles. Now it is time to turn this knowledge into a clear, daily blueprint, because if you cannot apply it in the real world, it will not protect you from sarcopenia. Here is what a muscle-preserving lifestyle looks like in practice. Start with food. Each of your main meals should deliver at least 25 to 30 grams of complete protein, with 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine. For most people, that means 4 to 5 ounces of fish, chicken, beef, or a plant-based protein equivalent fortified with leucine. Breakfast might be 3 eggs with smoked salmon and spinach. Lunch could be a Greek yogurt bowl with nuts and berries. Dinner could be grass-fed beef stir-fried with vegetables, or lentils and quinoa topped with pumpkin seeds if you are plant-based. Next, layer in omega-3 fatty acids. Aim for at least 2 servings of fatty fish per week, or consider a high-quality fish oil supplement. This makes your muscles more sensitive to leucine, amplifying the effect of every protein-rich meal. Now think about timing. Space your protein evenly. Instead of loading 60 grams at dinner, distribute 30 grams at breakfast, 30 grams at lunch, and 30 grams at dinner. If you exercise, especially with resistance training, add a protein-rich meal or shake within 1 to 2 hours post-workout to maximize the anabolic window. Do not forget lifestyle levers. 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week are non-negotiable. This does not mean you need a gym membership or heavy barbells. Bodyweight exercises like push-ups, squats, and resistance bands are powerful enough to trigger muscle growth when combined with protein. Support your hormones and mitochondria. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep. Even 1 week of sleep deprivation can lower testosterone and growth hormones significantly, reduce sugar and processed foods to improve insulin sensitivity. If you can, add short periods of intermittent fasting, such as 12 to 16 hours overnight, to give your body a chance to reset its insulin signaling and enhance mitochondrial resilience. Now, let us add micronutrients. Vitamin D, magnesium, and zinc are among the most common deficiencies that accelerate sarcopenia. If you are not getting daily sun exposure, supplementing with vitamin D may be essential. Magnesium can come from leafy greens, nuts, and seeds, while zinc is abundant in shellfish, beef, and legumes. And finally, create consistency. Sarcopenia develops slowly over years. But the good news is, building muscle also happens steadily with small, consistent actions. 3 meals of high-quality protein per day, 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, daily micronutrient-rich whole foods. This is not extreme. It is sustainable, natural, and profoundly effective. A study published in the Journals of Gerontology showed that older adults who combined resistance training with higher protein diets rich in leucine had not only more muscle mass, but also better balance, faster walking speed, and improved cognitive scores. In other words, protecting your muscle does not just change how you look, it changes how you move, think, and age. So here is your blueprint. Build each meal around leucine, use omega-3s to amplify the effect, distribute protein evenly, train your muscles against resistance, optimize your sleep, and keep your insulin and hormones in balance. If you follow these principles, sarcopenia is not your future. Strength, vitality, and metabolic resilience are. In the conclusion, these are all the main insights which I give you for a clear challenge to start applying this immediately, so you do not just understand the science, but you feel the difference in your body.